Abracadabra. All right, so we're going to look at some opening traps that come the King's Gambit. Got some echo there. That's all I need, echo. I still have echo. Why do I have echo? Where's that echo coming from? Oh, I think I figured it out. All right. So this is the stream for the technologically disabled. All right. Yeah, for opening traps that come out from the King's Gambit. Now, the King's Gambit itself is just a very, very tactical opening. So there's lots of ways for black to go wrong, but I don't want to just show, tactical blunders. I want to set one where they're actually setting a trap. And like I said, there's so many tactics, you can't cover the whole thing, but just I want to look at a couple here. So the first one I want to look at is after e4, e5, f4, King's Gambit. There's this idea of queen f6 called the Norwald variation. And believe it or not, I've had a decent amount of success playing this as black. It's not that it's a great opening, but in blitz, it can throw your opponent off because if he's not familiar with it. And it's very similar to this idea in the King's Gambit Declined, where I think every King's Gambit player knows you're not supposed to take this pawn because of this nasty check here. And after g3, queen takes e4 would be winning. So that's one type of trap. But for some reason, queen f6 kind of throws them off a little bit. And they forget that I can't take this pawn. So I think it's possible for them to take this pawn. I'd say stronger players that I play don't fall for this very often. I looked in the database. This queen f6 occurred 262 times, and white fell for it 7 times. So it's not that likely that you're going to get it, but I think the player's got to start thinking for a second here. And like I said, I don't think it's that good a variation for black, but it is a trap, hoping that he takes this pawn. And now you give the check. So it's like a little delayed move here. But like I said, in blitz against when I play like lower rated players, sometimes they fall for this. I don't know why. They forget, they get confused that this isn't the same thing anymore, and they take there like, hey, I'm winning a tempo on the queen, but then there's this check. And if they play g3, I have this again, and they play queen e2, and I grab the rook over here. And if they go king e2, it becomes very much like like the Damiano defense, kind of. So it's kind of the same pattern here. So, all right, you're in check. So d4 is best. If they just run, I think you're going to grab this pawn with check, and then h5 and like d6 surprise check is coming. If they play pawn to d4, which is the best move, you can just take it. And now, let me see here. So what's the difference? If I go here, I think they can go here. I think that's the difference. So that's why they gave up d4, because, and of course black is still winning even here, but still, it's a better defense. But knight e7 coming out, just threatening to play knight f5. Check is devastating. So if they go knight f3, for example, here comes a check. Threatening, if the knight weren't there, queen h4 would be a mate. And if the king goes to h3, then, I mean, everything's winning, but h5 just threatens mate, etc., etc. Or d6 also with this discovered attack threat. Both of these moves are devastating. But like I said, I don't think the chances of them falling for this trap are that high. Maybe you'll get it in a blitz game because it's just kind of like they're not used to seeing it because it's very rare. But I don't think it's not something I would recommend unless you're just goofing around wanting to have fun, and don't worry if you end up in a bad position. So the next one I want to look at, and a very similar idea after e4, e5, f4, when they played this d5, heading maybe, what's going on here? Got some leakage going on here. So maybe heading for a Falkbeer counter gambit. For example, if they take and you go e4, I think that's called the Falkbeer. And if they take here, sorry, if they after this and they take here, I think that's the better line. That transposes to this, well, I've always called it modern, but I see like some places on the internet it's called the Abbasia variation. After they play knight f3, it would transpose back. So that would come about after like this and d5 and knight f3 here. No, that's not even, yeah, that's right. And then they take here and then you take there, right? That's the line, I think. But anyway, this d5 straight away, and then again, taking here is just a mistake. Should have looked up how often that happens. So, but taking here, the move, of course, is you should take this one. But taking the e pawn is a mistake, and it does happen with people that get confused on their lines sometimes. So this wins in a very similar way to the previous position. What's going on here? I got some major leakage going on here. I don't like that. Sorry. Got to go back to the set that guy on the bench and bring out the A player, the Geek Vape. The Geek Vape doesn't leak. It's the best vape I think I've ever had, and they did not pay me to say that. I just think it's the best vape I've ever had, the Geek Vape. Anyway, the move for black here is pretty obvious. Now I give the check, and if they block, once again I have this forking idea. If they come up king e2, this was a Title Tuesday game in 2022, and so about 6 months ago, I guess it was in November. The guy playing white is named Countless. He's 2251, so he's quite a strong player, and he went in. He fell for this. He just grabbed the wrong pawn. I guess that can happen in blitz, right? You grab the wrong pawn, just momentary lapse of reason. And playing black was a 2100 player named Rinjith. So what happened here in the game, he went king e2. It was check. And then bishop check. He played d4, so he did do that much. If he goes king g3, it's mate in 3, I think. Check. And then check, and then the king comes back, and then you got your choice. I don't know which one's prettier, queen f2 or bishop f2. I think I would pick bishop f2 in my game. But he played d4. Bishop takes d4 check, king g3, and he grabbed this pawn check. Remember, this is a blitz game. This is totally winning, like a plus, I don't know, whatever. But it was mate in 5 if you started with this check, just to show you. Point 1, if I go king f4. Come on, computer. Oops, get up there. King f4, then queen f5 check. King g3, and once again this mate or this mate. So he's got to go king h4. And then this check, and you block. And then this check. If you block with the bishop, well, you can simply take it because of the pin on this pawn. And if he goes here, g6 is checkmate. Going back, if he just runs with the king, then I play g6 straight away. Comes here and can mate with the pawn. h6 mate. So, but okay, it's a blitz game. He played bishop takes e5 check. King went back to f2. He repeated, and then he still didn't find it. This was, by the way, played in another game, Campillo Carrasco Martinez, where black did find the correct move here. And after this, he played queen f6, and the guy resigned because after king g3, this mate or this mate again. But in the game, he played knight h6, which is still winning. Going to check on f5 probably, so he just eats that guy off. Pawn takes back. I guess the rook's coming to g8 or the queen's coming to e5, something like this. And white finally resigned. He didn't want to play anymore. Don't blame him. Probably the last 8 moves were pretty miserable for him. Took him like 8 moves to stop cursing, I guess, probably cursing himself. But you know, it's the type of thing you could do. Again, I recommended. Well, D5 is actually a good move. So yeah, D5 is actually a good move. It was this just a blunder that occurs very early in this line if they take the wrong pawn. All right, I'm going to look at one more game. I'm going to keep in my theme of very short streams. Those are the best. The short streams are the best. I watched the FIDE World Cup today. It's pretty interesting. I liked Tanya and Simon. I saw somewhere where people were complaining about them because they were like having fun. Hey, Canvas, how you doing? I was just saying I watched the FIDE World Cup today. People were complaining about Tanya and Simon, but I liked it. I thought Simon was what he should have been doing all along. He was like a lot more funny today. I'm going to simp out for Tanya here because I think she's a good hostess. She brings out like the best in people. She's better. You know, Simon is better when she's there leading the hostess duties. Though slight complaint, she did maybe talk a little too much. She kind of stepped on his lines a bit. But that's why her and Leko I think are the best combination, because she does a good hostess job and sets Leko up pretty good. Anyway, I don't know. So people were complaining because they were having fun and stuff, but that's what I want to see. I want to see the commentators having fun. I don't want to just, I want them to analyze chess, but it's like at the end of the day, you know, I'm okay with them cracking jokes and having fun with it. Anyway, that's just my humble opinion. So what I'm doing today, Canvas, and I've got one game left to look at, is I am looking at Traps and the King's Gambit. What's your puzzle streak record on Lichess? I don't know. I would have no idea. I'm sure I did it before, but I don't know. Not sure. I don't know. I've done like Puzzle Storm. Is that the same thing? Puzzle Storm, Puzzle Streak? I don't know. Really couldn't say. What's yours? I've been practicing lately. Reached 51, but my peak is 50. Now wait a minute. So you mean you broke your peak? You went past? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm blind. Your peak is 59. That's a pretty darn good, I think, isn't it? Because don't people like stall out around 30 or so, typically? I don't know. I have no idea what they do. I need to start solving some tactics puzzles, but you know my philosophy. I don't believe in studying 10,000 puzzles. I believe in trying to understand the tactics instead of just beating them in. I mean, yeah, you got to do some repetition, yeah, but I think it's overblown how much repetition you have to do. I don't think Morphy sat around and did tactics puzzles all day. I don't think that's how he got good. I don't think that's how Anderson got good, you know, or Capablanca. I don't think they sat around and solved tactics puzzles over and over again. I think that's good for you a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't think that's the path. Yeah, but I want to break it. Reach 65 at least. 65. Why 64? No, 64 is that's the chess number. 64 is the chess number. That's what you want. 64. Is that one of those? It gets harder as you go along, right? Isn't it like it starts out with easy ones and then it gets harder, like this? Yeah, I did tactics puzzles for a while on Chess Base. They got like a little tactics, but I actually like their tactics puzzles. Lichess I like. I didn't like it when it first started, but I like them now. Chess Tempo, I guess, is the goat of tactics puzzles, but I tell you what I don't like about Chess Tempo. They might have changed it, but it seems like they just, once you reach a certain level of difficulty, you never had an easy one. It's like every puzzle you had to spend like, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes trying to solve it. I'm like, well, that's just too much. The thing I liked about the chess base one is like they would throw in an easy one and give you a hard one, and then maybe 2 easy ones and then 2 hard ones or something like that. So it wasn't always just stress. Sometimes you got like, oh, there's a fork. I like that much better than just straight up pressure all the time. But they might have changed the format by now. I don't know. Anyway, so let's look at this last game. It traps in the King's Gambit like this. And this is called, I believe it's pronounced the Quade Gambit. Is it Quade or is it two A's? Quaade? Quade Gambit. I'm just going to go with Quade because I'm American and that's the way I speak. The Quade Gambit. I think this is a nice little try for white. I mean, it is a gambit, of course. But I think it's a nice little try. If you're going to go for King's Gambit, I like this idea. And it's got like a little subtle trap. And I think what I mean by subtle is like, I think it's easy for black to fall into the wrong plan. I think black should play Bishop G7 or Knight C6 or D6. I'm not going to pretend to lecture on which one's the best. I think those are all good moves. But I think G4 is maybe starting to head in the wrong direction. Although I think black is still okay here. But I think I think white is happy with this. So he goes here and he gives the check. So like I said, I think just black's entire plan here is wrong, though it looks like it's so natural because this is what you do in the King's Gambit. That's why it's like a nice little subtle trap. All right, he plays G3, and he takes, and now the queen takes here, threatening to trade queens. Again, I think black is okay here, though I think white is pretty happy with the way things have turned out. So it's because of this idea here that I think this is why I say black went the wrong way. Now, King's Gambit experts can come on here and argue with me, and they might be right. But the trap comes here. So I'll make it a training question for you, Canmus, Mr. Tactics Puzzle Streaker. What's the best move for black here? What is the best move for black here? Let's see if you can start a streak here. Start a new streak. Actually, you know, instead of 65, you should go for 69. 69 puzzles. That would be nice. I would solve 69 puzzles with Tanya Sachdev. But I'm just saying. Keep it clean. Keep it clean. All right. So it is black to play. The question goes out to Canmus and my other lurker out there. What would you do if you were black here? What would you do if you were black? Canmus goes into deep think mode. I'll give you plenty of time, don't worry, because it's like the only training question of the whole stream. Might ask another one if I get bored. Meanwhile, what's going on in the world while I'm waiting for Canmus? G2, you've fallen for the trap, my friend. You have fallen for the trap. Isn't G2 a free rook? This is the trap. This is like, so just go back because this is so natural, right? Isn't that like just what everybody would play? G2 check. I mean, that's kind of black's whole idea here, right? It's thematic. We've seen this type of thing before, but I'll go back because I want people to know here. So repetition is the key. All right, so King's Gambit, normal stuff. G5 is the main line. Knight C3. This is called the Quade Gambit, or maybe it's called the Quad Gambit. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'm going to go with Quade. And like I said, I think black is totally fine if he plays like Bishop G7 or Knight C6 or D6. These ideas, they've all been played a lot. But G4, because this looks like the way you should go. And this check. This looks like the most natural thing, right? And then they block. the check, and you take, of course, and they take here. So you could take queens. Taking queen is the correct answer. You must trade queens, and that's why I think white's okay in this line. But g2 is the main idea, and that is wrong. That is a mistake. I'll just show you real quick. Because the queen takes, I take a rook, but the next move threatens mate, or check and mate. Threatens check and then mate. So how to get out of that? How to get out of that mess? Well, if he goes knight to h6 is the game, d4, and I'm going to remove that knight and mate you. So he says, I better get you out of there fast. And then he takes. And if I were to take the knight, then I have a couple of ways I could go here. I could take the bishop first and then give this check. And if you go this way, I can castle, and I'm ready to win the queen. And if you go this way, I play king f2, and I'm also now ready to move here, and the queen is trapped. So the other way here then, I can't take the knight like I would like to. So I play bishop e7, and now he castled, which is very good, totally winning, but even knight takes f7 is the best according to the computer and in my notes here. Threatening this nasty discovered attack, and if the bishop comes here, I just simply, it's white that's winning now. I got my rook back, and your queen is very awkward. Your king is in check and out in the open. I'm going to castle next with threats to trap the queen. So g2 is a mistake. Let me back up though, because I skipped some of my notes just to show you the idea of g2. So the best move is queen takes g4, and I got lots of notes here. So the knight will take. There's two ways to go here, d6 or d5. Not sure which is best. I'll look at d5 first. And now maybe something like knight e3, trying to win this pawn. If he grabs this pawn, then, well, knight to b5, he could defend c7 with this. d4 could come here, and then not even grabbing the pawn, but coming here, threatening to fork. Bishop to d6 would run into knight takes e4, threatening to remove the bishop, or if the bishop moves away, then I can fork you. And if he goes, if he goes king d8 here, I have this check, and he goes there, and then knight takes e4. It's just a big attack, big initiative for white there. Going back then, there's also, wait a minute, did I skip some lines here? Make sure I didn't skip any lines. Yeah, that was g takes a2. If he goes d4 here, I did skip a line. Then I come in here, threatening to fork you. You take my guy, my knight, I check you, and then take there. And even if black gets this guy, white's going to have the bishop pair and a bunch of open files. So that's going to be good for white. Did I skip something here? Where did this come from? Oh, this is the d6 line. Yeah, so if he goes d6, same thing, knight e3, then he goes here, and I guess it's about a equal endgame, but it's unbalanced. White's got the bishop pair and some open files. He is down a pawn, but the bishop pair and the open files, I think, should, and his lead in development, should count for a lot. Let's go back then. So in the game he played g2. He fell for the trap. Take, queen h5, threatening mate. And here we looked at knight h6, but bishop d6. What if this? Well, just say you can have the pawn, but you can't come here to f8 and mate me anymore. But now I could go a couple of choices here. I could go queen g7 attacking the rook. And if you take here, d4, bishop g5 is coming next. Or you could just go d4 straight away without the queen g7 business. He went knight h6. Natural, defending this. d4, as we said, wanting to remove this knight. d6. All right, he eats that guy. And we did look at this. I'll look at it a little better now. the pawn takes the knight. Now I've got two choices here. I said I could take on f8, or I could come here with a fork. If he comes here, I take this guy, threatening to take this pinned bishop on f8, so the knight d7 protects it. Maybe he's ready to castle, so I eat that guy now. He goes ahead and castles. Can't save that bishop, so grab a pawn. He goes there, and then something like queen h6. And white is up a pawn, and he's ready to castle here next, I think. You can't take my pawn because your knight hangs, so you got to do something like knight g6 and I'll castle, right? Then I'm okay. Oh, I'm actually up 2 pawns. What did I say? No. Yeah, I can't count. Sorry, I can't count. I'm up 2 pawns. White's up 2 pawns here. The other line, which I showed already, was bishop takes f8, king takes. This is also winning. Check. If he comes here, I can castle with the threat of bishop to b5 check. If he comes here, king f2, ready to play bishop to c4, and the black queen is trapped. So in the game he played bishop e7, and here we said he could have played knight takes f7 with a deadly discovered attack, but in the game he castled. All right, threatening to win the queen like this. So he played bishop d7 to make sure this is not a check. If he takes the knight, for example, this is winning. So he played bishop d7. So he did play knight takes f7. Now the rook saved himself. He grabbed this pawn, but in my notes the computer preferred knight to d5, bringing another piece into the attack, and I'm actually threatening mate. I'm threatening mate. All right, so you're going to have to do some weird stuff to stop that. But he grabbed the pawn, which is still winning. Check. Could have came back, but he played bishop c4, attacking the rook. It's all winning. Rook goes to g1. Once again, knight f7 check is a good idea, but he played bishop to e6. This is a very clever idea, because his threat, I really like this, the way he played this, bishop e6, because his threat is to play queen e8, sacrifice the queen, because when the bishop takes, this is mate. That would have been nice. That would have been a pretty mate. I would have almost let the guy do that just to have that on the board, that queen sacrifice. That was nice. Of course, he didn't want to lose, so he played c6. So now that trick doesn't work anymore. So again, knight f7 is a great move here, but he played bishop takes, and then he takes here, check. The knight takes back, the king takes there, and here's this check. If you take the knight, it's mate immediately, right? So he's got to go king c7, and now check, still saying take my knight please. He says I can't take the knight, I'm getting mated. So he runs away. Check. Check. Good old-fashioned king hunt, and then checkmate. So very nice little trap in the King's Gambit from the Quade Gambit. Q-U-A-D-E, or is it Q-U-A-A-D-E? I need to look that up. And I'm not sure how it's pronounced either. But I'll just go over it one more time. I know I did it twice already, but I want to make sure you know this in case you want to play it in your game. All right, so this is the King's Gambit. This is the main line when they play g5. This is the Quade Gambit. I'm going with Quade Gambit. There was a nice couple of videos by Karsten Mueller back a few years ago on this from in the Chess Base magazine. I don't know if they put that online or not, but I remember he had a couple of nice videos about this. And again, black I think is fine here with bishop g7, knight c6 or d6. g4, I think black is subtly starting to go wrong here. Even though he's okay here, I think his plan is wrong. You can see his plan is wrong, but it's such a natural plan. that looks like exactly what I would play if I was black, right? Come here, check. The pawn goes there to block. You take. The queen can take here. And he's got to trade queens, and then white's okay. But G2, this is the trap that black falls into. This check, it looks like you're winning a free rook. Everybody would play that. I would play that. I think, I don't know. Yeah, that's just something. That's something they'll fall for, I think. Take, but the trick is he can threaten mate here. And then he's just got a major attack. Black really has to twist himself up to just not die immediately, and then he dies very quickly. So there you go. There's some couple of traps that come up from the King's Gambit. I think tomorrow night I'm going to look at some attacking chess. I'm not sure what theme I'm going to look at. Maybe running the e-pawn up the board when you run the pawn up to e6 and sacrifice it. Maybe when you have this like surprise check coming with the queen. I'm not certain what I want to look at yet. Have to do that tonight. Look up some material for tomorrow. But anyway, this is King's Gambit traps, or just a few of them anyway, a couple of them. And thanks for watching, Canmas, and all you lurkers out there. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Adios.